The week is here. The week is here. It's Super Bowl week. Let's get it, man. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that jazz. Share with a friend and share with a friend. It's Real Talk with MJ. We getting right into it, man. This is the week, and we're going to be in New Orleans. What are we going to do? We're going to trip out. We're going to trip out. We're going to trip out. That's what we're going to do. Shout out Pops. If y'all watch that live, y'all know that Pops got me tickets with him to go to New Orleans and watch the Birds get that Lombardi trophy for Jalen Hurts to win his first Super Bowl, for Saquon Barkley on his birthday to win a Super Bowl. It's destiny. It's in the script. And did I hear that Brandon Graham's back? Is Brandon Graham back? It sure looks like it. It sure looks like Brandon Graham is going to be activated for the Super Bowl. And let's not forget that against the Rams, the last time Brandon Graham played, he was arguably the best player on the Eagles defense. Now, I'm not saying he's going to still be that guy. I'll be honest. If Brandon Graham is the Eagles' best defensive player in the Super Bowl, then we're in some big trouble. But what I am going to say is that if Brandon Graham is activated, and matter of fact, if Brandon Graham is activated, what that means is that Vic Fangio believes that he can contribute on this team. Like, this not no ceremonial run. This not that. He's only being activated if Vic Fangio believes he could really be a difference maker. And hell, anything's better than Bryce Huff, who ain't giving us nothing. So I know that BG's going to give us more than what Bryce Huff is giving us right now. That's a certified fact. But Brandon Graham brings an edge not only on the field, but off the field as well. He's the guy who's responsible for the Eagles hosting that Lombardi trophy in 2018. He's the guy that had that strip sack on Tom Brady and is the reason why the Eagles won that shootout, because what was the difference? It was that turnover. It was that turnover, because it was back and forth, touchdown here, touchdown there, field goal there, extra point there, here, extra point here. But it was Brandon Graham that made the defensive play of that game that won the Super Bowl. So he has invaluable experience and knowledge and wisdom to give to Nolan Smith, who has a franchise record, 4.5 sacks in one postseason. He has a hell of experience and wisdom for Jalen Carter, who's having himself a unbelievable postseason and is showing why he'll be a future defensive player of the year one day. So it helps a lot having a guy in Brandon Graham on your squad for the Super Bowl. Man, oh man, we can't understate how impactful, how important it is to have BG on this squad. And on the field, I still feel like Brandon Graham, with Jalen Carter getting a lot of these double teams, I'm not putting it past Brandon Graham to be able to go ahead and, make some plays out there, setting the edge, getting to Mahomes. Look, we're going to talk about Mahomes against this number one ranked defense. We're going to talk about Saquon Barkley and the notion that all the Chiefs got to do is stack the box and stop him, and that's so easy. But before I get into all of that, and like, comment, subscribe, do all that jazz, I appreciate y'all. We're going to talk about the Kellen Moore stuff too. So we talked about Brandon Graham. Let's talk about Kellen Moore. When the news first broke out that Kellen Moore was set to be the Saints head coach, I was pissed off. Because when you look through Jalen Hurts' career, the one season dating back to college, he's had the same coordinator in consecutive years. He was an MVP candidate, got to the Super Bowl, and statistically outplayed Patrick Mahomes in that game. Outside of Shane Steichen, the one guy that Hurts has had for consecutive years as his OC. It's been Brian Johnson, then Kellen Moore. One year it was Doug Peterson and them. Like, it was always so many changing parts. And so that's why when I look at it, I'd be like, hey, you talk about this guy's a game manager trying to diminish him. Game managers are Jared Goff and Brock Purdy, and I like Brock Purdy a lot. But they actually have consistency when it comes to them having play callers. Unfortunately, when you're in the Nick Sirianni sweepstakes, and this isn't a knock, it's just the fact, you're going to constantly have new offensive coordinators because nobody is going to give Nick Sirianni credit for the offense. That's why all these coordinators, yes, Brian Johnson, that was a fail, but if Shane Steichen does well, yeah, he's getting a head coaching job. I think part of it, people can be like, well, is he overcoming Nick Sirianni? I'm just, but offensively, play calling, that's not Nick Sirianni's strength. And Nick Sirianni has a lot of good strengths. And he deserves a boatload of credit for this Eagles team and their success and getting to New Orleans. But play calling, that ain't his thing. That's not his thing. Kellen Moore, I don't even think Kellen Moore is that good. I think he had a phenomenal game against the Commanders, and I tip my cap, and he gets all the credit in the world for that. But I think any competent offensive coordinator with this offensive talent, plus Jeff Stoutland as their offensive line coach, any competent offensive play caller should be doing what Kellen Moore is doing right now. Like, you ain't got to be a genius. So, taking this all into account, when I first heard the news about Kellen Moore, I was annoyed because of the inconsistency Jalen Hurts has with play callers in his career. Also, I feel like Kellen Moore going to the Saints is beneath him. Now, look, he has the chance to be a head coach, make double, triple, quadruple the money he's making now, and you can't knock that. But he's going to a franchise that has no quarterback and is in the worst cap situation in the league. Now, look, that's going to be a pay raise for him. And what Kellen Moore might be saying is, well, I look at Bobby Slowick, and he was a hot coaching candidate last year. The Texans had some injuries with Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell, and they still won a playoff game, and he got fired. So I get why Kellen Moore is like, hey, the NFL has no loyalty anywhere. It's not a guarantee that I could get this opportunity again. This is life-changing, generational money. But I still feel like, bruh, you better than that job. You better than that job. Like, this Eagles job, if everybody's healthy, you're going to have a top 5 offense every single year. So it could be some other jobs opening up that could be more appealing next year or in 2 years. But I know Kellen Moore's thinking is that, hey, man, like, this league, it's ruthless, which it is. So that was my initial feeling. A little bit of, come on, bruh, not again. And more, you're better than this. But what I think right now is this. Kellen Moore, I don't care if you coach on Mars next year. I need you to coach the game of your life this Super Bowl. If you do that, I don't care where you go. Because if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, I could care less who's their offensive coordinator next year. I could care less. I could care less. So what I'm saying is, Kellen Moore, we obviously see that you're looking beyond this season. That's cool. But you better not let that impact your play calling this Sunday. Because, oh my gosh, I will have a fit and I will start World War III if this man has a lackluster, piss-poor game because he's already looking for his new staff in New Orleans. A situation where they ain't got no quarterback and they have the worst cap situation in the NFL. Again, if you ball out, if you have a hell of a game plan against the Chiefs and the Eagles win the game, cool. Because I saw Kellen Moore against the Commanders have his best game. And I don't think it was a coincidence that he had his best game play calling wise the week that Jerry Jones said, yeah, I don't want you. I want Brian Schottenheimer. I feel like that's not a coincidence. And he played, well, and Kellen Moore coached a game that was like, Jerry, you're a dumbass, and I'm going to show you why you're a dumbass. And so I hope and I pray, and I'm really, really cautious when I look at this thing and I say, hey, Kellen Moore, you better coach a hell of a game. And if you do that, you can coach on Mars. And I can care less where you coach next season. That's what that is. Speaking of this offense, it gets annoying when every single week, for every single game, all year, yeah, the game plan is stack the box on Saquon Barkley and stop the run. Sounds good, Turkey. It sounds good, Turkey. It's kind of like that person on the internet that's talking crazy and it's like, it sound good. Oh, you about to do this, you about to do that. It sound good. Okay, let me really see you stick by what you're saying. And with a lot of these teams and with a lot of these fan bases that are saying, oh yeah, the Chiefs are going to stop Saquon Barkley, that sounds good. Until you're up against Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, and Mekhi Becton. That's over 1,000 pounds to go ahead and move. And you're up against a running back that can arguably have the best running back season of all time. So I'm just saying it sounds good, but everybody else had a plan before they got punched in the mouth. And when they got punched in the mouth, first play of the game, 60 yards to the crib, what happened? Commanders. Oh, with the Rams. It was that graphic of like running backs that have had 200 yards plus against a certain team. And then what did they do against that same team in the playoffs, whether it was Adrian Peterson or Marshall Faulk, all these guys, and we saw that they did not have the same production that they had in that first game. And they were like, well, they got this Rams young defensive line, and they know that they got to stack the box on Saquon. And what does Saquon do? The same thing he did to them in the same game. You feel me? So look, I'm getting antsy right now, but I just don't understand the notion that, yeah, just make sure that you just stack the box on Saquon. Like, it's going to be that easy. It's not going to be easy. And I firmly believe if the Chiefs, whose run defense has been worse in the playoffs than it's been in the regular season, with Joe Mixon running for 5 yards a carry against them, whether it's James Cook running for 6.5 yards a carry against them, I bring the question to y'all again. What the hell is Saquon Barkley going to do then? Want to know what I think? 8 yards a carry. 8 yards a carry. And I expect a 50-yard run. A 50-yard run. And by the grace of God, if they hold Saquon Barkley to less than 120 rushing yards, yeah, because that's what his prop is. It's around there, like 115. It's around there, something like that. By the grace of God, if they hold him to under 120, what's going to happen? You're going to have situations where, regardless of whether Saquon gets 200 yards, 120, 150, 110, whatever it is, you're still going to have situations where A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are going to have one-on-one opportunities. And yes, A.J. Brown is a superstar. He's amazing. And I thought that he would have a monster game against the Commanders that love man-on-man coverage. But I'm looking at a guy in Devontae Smith that against Steve Spagnuolo, he's had some monster games. In the Super Bowl, a monster game. Against the Chiefs last year, a monster game. And so I love Devontae Smith being able to win his matchups when you got Trent McDuffie against A.J. Brown. So he'll be occupied there. But you got Devontae Smith out here who, oh my gosh, y'all got y'all second best cornerback on Devontae Smith. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of this Eagles offense, because Devontae Smith, any given game, can go for $130 and 2 touchdowns if he so pleases, and if Jalen Hurts so pleases to throw him the ball, and if Kellen Moore so pleases to get him open in these schemes, because we know on many teams in this league, it's Devontae Smith who will be a number 1 wide receiver, and I expect Devontae Smith in his hometown. What did he say? We back at the crib. We back at the crib. In his hometown, he will have a monster game. I believe that. Oh, it's a lot of good stories here. It is a lot of good stories with the Eagles. You got Saquon Barkley and Cooper DeJean's birthday the day of the Super Bowl. You got Zach Bond going back home to the franchise that drafted him, that misused him, and that frankly did not believe in him because they treated him like an afterthought. Oh, you're just a special teams player. Oh, you're just an edge rusher in, unique situations. And then he gets to come back there being a first-team All-Pro, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and have the opportunity to host the Lombardi Trophy in the stadium that he was drafted to. Oh, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the former Saint there. It's a lot of history that we got here. It's a lot of storylines we got here. And of course, Brandon Graham, like we started off, being able to have a perfect script to his career, being the guy that strip sacked Tom Brady to then come back from a torn tricep in a couple of months at 36 years old and end his career with a Super Bowl win, playing in the bowl. It is picture perfect. It's destiny. I don't care about no refs. Let's talk about that, bro. I don't care about no refs. I don't care about no Kermit the Frog, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. I don't care about none of that, bro. Because I know that this Eagles team roster is better than the Chiefs. And I have a firm belief that this Eagles team will beat the Chiefs comfortably to where the refs can't even manipulate the game. I believe that. I believe that. I think it's a bigger chance the Eagles beat the Chiefs by double digits than the Eagles beat the Chiefs in a close game. I 100% believe that. I think if the Eagles are going to beat the Chiefs, which I believe they will beat them with them not sweating with less than 2 minutes left in the game. Because I'll concede if Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have the ball last and it's a tie game or they're only down 3 or they're down 6, oh, yes, I'm scared. Yeah. We know that. So I believe that it'll be like 8, 9, 10-point game. That's what I believe. And maybe, just maybe, the Chiefs, they get a late touchdown and it might cut the game to like 3 or 4 and they try an onside kick and the Eagles recover it and that's game over. That's the only stress I want at the end of the game is the Chiefs trying to get an onside kick because they were down multiple scores and that's the only way that they can come back in the game. That's what I'm saying. I firmly believe the Eagles have a bigger chance of beating the Chiefs by 9, 10, 13, 11, 12 points than beating them by like a field goal to win it or a touchdown to win it. You feel what I'm saying? Because you don't want to be in that game with the Chiefs. You want to go ahead, stomp on them again, and stomp on them 3 times just to make sure that they're dead. I'm on one today, bruh. I feel great. I feel great to be back here. I was sick. I was doing interviews after the NFC Championship, and man, oh man, I got myself sick. Oh, I don't know who got me the flu. It was somebody. Last Wednesday, I was down bad. Last point. When the Chiefs played the Buccaneers and their offensive line was injured, the Buccaneers took full advantage of it. Now, I'll be fair, the Chiefs' offensive line back in 2020, it wasn't as injured as it is now. But this Chiefs' offensive line is banged up. They had a guy banged up. They had to go ahead. I mean, look, the Chiefs' offensive line now has had issues all season. It was so bad that they moved their guard in Joe Tooney and pushed him to that left tackle spot. So what that tells me is that means y'all got a backup at the guard spot. And what that tells me is Jalen Carter's finna feast. That's what that tells me. And they're going to have to pray for their life that they can just double team that guy and contain him. But what does that leave? That leaves one-on-ones with Nolan Smith. That leaves one-on-ones with Jalen Hunt. That leaves one-on-ones with Milton Williams, Ajomo, Brandon Graham. So we can't understate the fact that this Chiefs offensive line has been an issue, and Andy Reid has done a phenomenal job in helping mask that with moving a guard to left tackle. But you're talking about the best defense in the NFL in the Eagles. This ain't middle of the pack defense. This ain't a defense that's just top 10. That's top 5. They're ranked number 1. With the guy in Jalen Carter that Aaron Donald has said he's next. He's me. That's what I'm saying. We got to go ahead and think about that stuff. And, of course, our secondary with Quinyon, Coop, and Slay. Come on. A guy in CJ that He been there, he done that. He been up against this same exact team 2 years ago. I'm just saying. I'll be fair, it isn't the same exact team, but hey, this ain't new to him playing this team. That's what it is, bro. So again, like, comment, subscribe. I want to continue to produce content and content and content this week. And when I land in New Orleans, best believe that content is up. This content's going to be up. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Real Talk with MJ, where y'all know I always keep it real. I'm out, y'all.